Welcome back to our Mike and Mike's Off-Air podcast. You got Mike Pesto.
And your friend Mike O'Neill, afternoons on the new My 97.5.
So we're going to do this once again, second week in a row, kind of a very heavy subject. Last week was about civility and poor as well as bad sportsmanship. Today we're going to try to tackle the big debate recently about the First Amendment.
Yes.
And Jimmy Kimmel Live. And I will tell you, I haven't said this on the air, and I think I shared it with you as well, that we were one of the families that, because Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air.
You did tell me.
We decided the only way that we can show any displeasure with that was to cancel our Disney Plus subscription. I didn't tell you we had that subscription since day one of Disney Plus. We were there when they did the Lady and the Tramp movie spinoff and everything else, before it had all the things it had, before Marvel was a part of it, before Pixar was a part of it.
For the same reason that we have had it.
It
started with the kids, and then the kid in we older folks vibed on that and some of the other things that came along. But the whole idea of how do I send a message to the people that need to have a message that will register, and sadly, 9 times out of 10, unless you register in their pocketbook, they don't get the message.
I've always said, whenever I've had conversations with this about everyone, you don't just vote every 4 years in November. You vote every single time you break out your plastic, you use Apple Pay, Venmo, whatever it is that you spend your money, whether it be at Target, whether it be at a mom and pop store, whether it be a Good Times Cafe, whether it be a chain, you are telling that business, I like the way you're doing things, keep up the good work.
I appreciate that you did that. I'll be honest, I didn't do that only because my wife, who watches my grandson for 8 hours a day, it would have impacted him,
I'm sure of
very, very heavily. And that would have made my wife's life miserable, and I couldn't ask for that. But I know it was a little easier for you guys because your kids are older. You're not necessarily watching Dumbo this week, but yeah, it seems to be what big business hears.
That's the only thing that they hear at times. And I'm assuming with the fact, and now as we're recording this is Tuesday afternoon, tonight is the night that Jimmy Kimmel will be back on TV. So we haven't heard his opening monologue. We don't know if there are any mea culpas, any apologies, anything of that nature.
And I love what I heard. I was on the network earlier today. We've, quote unquote, we've had very productive talks with Jimmy. Yeah, I want to. Number one, I'd like to have been a fly on that wall.
Yeah, forget the opening monologue. Just have had a camera in that meeting and show that for the opening monologue. That's what we all want to see and hear.
And number two, as we can guess what that was like, the results will be evident tonight, and we'll see how much Jimmy holds back, or if he walks the line, or, we all need to make a living. He might make an adjustment, so we'll have to see.
My guess is he is going to apologize very carefully. I think there are certain things he may, in retrospect, be apologetic for. The timing, especially on what he said, was a bit suspect, and I'll be the first to admit that. But if you've ever watched him, he's not a fan of our current president or our president 45 either. He wasn't a fan of either term. And his opening monologue, 95% of it is usually about the president.
And it wasn't out of character for him. It wasn't over the top. All it was at this particular moment was with regards in some capacity to a very popular person who had been killed. And unfortunately, like you said, the timing wasn't great.
And I will say, before anyone automatically assumes that I'm a tree-hugging liberal, you and I have had conversations. I'm much more centrist than that. This, for me, truly came down to a First Amendment principle.
And where it happened.
Yes.
Colleges, United States colleges are the foundation for contrast. They're what debate is all about. I want to know, I don't agree with you.
Well,
Tell me why you think that way.
I'm talking specifically about Kimmel, though. You're talking about the assassination.
I got over to Charlie, sorry.
Yeah.
But, sorry, back to Kimmel.
So if you don't like what he says, for the most part, I would say most people know at this point, if you watch Jimmy Kimmel,
you know what you're getting.
Opening monologue especially, there's going to be a lot of digs on the current administration.
Big time.
Anything of that nature. Same thing goes with Stephen Colbert. Same things goes for mostly all the late night TV talk show hosts.
Well, even out of that genre, if you are listening to Whoopi Goldberg, you know what spin you at least know what spin you're going to get.
And the nice thing is, at least with The View, there is almost always, and I don't watch because I'm a little busy on the air at the time, but there's always at least one conservative host with that group. Now, maybe she's not as conservative as some would want. Maybe some would want another conservative on the panel, and that's all. Those are all fair arguments.
But the group provides contrast.
Correct. Here's the thing, and I posed this to a friend of mine recently. What if, and I forget his name now, the guy who does on KMJ, talk station out of Fresno, he does the night show there. Mark Levin.
Okay, there we go.
Very, very, very conservative. What happens if the next president that comes in happens to be a Democrat? And for the most part, the way the landscape is right now, TV talk show hosts, liberal-leaning. Radio talk show hosts, conservative-leaning. What if he tells the FCC, I want you to get all these conservative radio hosts off the air, find a way, somehow, to get them off the air?
Yeah.
I would be just as adamant about that because of what it is you and I do for a living.
It's the same spirit.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
We have certain freedoms.
Yes.
Maybe I have a few more than you because I get a chance to do the morning show, and I can talk a little bit longer. I can have more guests on. I had Haley Glick with Exeter Farmers Market on this morning. We talked about some other things above and beyond just the farmers market and such. So I can go above and beyond just talking about the station talking points, if you will. No one ever tells me what to talk about. I'm rarely reeled in because I know the form. I know what people want to hear. And we have a better forum with this, with our podcast, to kind of talk about some individual things. And when that happened, to me, especially after hearing what the chairman of the FCC had to say, prior to Sinclair and Nexstar saying we don't want to air Jimmy Kimmel anymore, then a big red flag got thrown on the play. And I'm like, not a fan of picking winners and losers with either side of the aisle.
No, and I'm not for any kind of governmental control of any of those venues. That is hands off, and should always be hands off because we should have the freedom to do and say as we do.
And if you don't like what one has to say, then go to the other. I will say, I wish there were more liberal-leaning radio talk show hosts, just as I wish there were more conservative-leaning late-night TV talk show hosts, so that you truly had, you could pick and choose a little bit more. Right now, the only thing that's really conservative late night, if you watch Fox or Newsmax or one of those, those aren't broadcast over the air. And it's my understanding when you're talking about streaming services, there's a whole nother set of rules that the FCC doesn't have the power to dive into those avenues as they do with anything that's broadcast over the air.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a lot of it just comes down to each of us extending each other a little more grace.
Thank you.
And getting rid of, we'll never get rid of the polarity, but why does it have to be all that it's about anymore? I'm either this guy or this guy. But here I stand and I'm neither guy. Personally, I am socially moderate and fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
That party doesn't exist. It kind of does, but I mean, a lot of people are that way, and I don't find myself a member of any of those parties. I'm still just love my neighbor as God loves me party, and how it vibes from that forward is how I try to decide. And I don't consider myself rabidly conservative or rabidly liberal. I'm just trying to be human and humanitarian if I can be.
I don't know if you paid much attention a month or so ago when Bill Maher with Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO actually got an invite to the White House and actually had dinner with President Trump. And he was off the air for a few weeks, and everyone was anticipating what his opening monologue was going to be about. And he talked about, if you're expecting me to blow this guy up over what we talked about, you're listening to the wrong show. Because he was cordial, he was polite, he listened to what I had to say. There were no screaming matches. Unfortunately, I think when we do talk face-to-face, and I've had conversations with people who feel differently than I do about the First Amendment, about other things as well. But when you talk face-to-face, you have a respect for that person. When you have the protective nature of being online, and you're on X, or if you're on Instagram, or you're on Facebook, exactly. The guns come out. You say things that will get your side cheering for you and the other side cheering against you. It gets to a point where you try to say the most shocking thing possible to get a reaction from someone.
Because of the phony intimacy of social media. Mm-hmm. Oh, I know such and such. You've never met him. You don't know him at all. I mean, and it's just, and again, it's like it's like hiding behind a curtain and shooting through.
And it's the whole... It's years ago, I equated it to sports. When you're talking about a member of my team can do no wrong. And unless you're on my team, you can't say anything bad about my team. And every other team sucks. That's what politics has become for the most part. We can't see the common ground that we all have because it's all about the tribalism.
And I don't like any of that. It's just, I love the San Francisco 49ers. It's a miracle they're still winning. And I know that. And I'm grateful for the depth we have. But I'm realistic. We've got a hurt team.
Yeah, you do.
I can't turn right I can't turn to you, a Bears fan, and goes, we're going to cremate everybody. Well, we're winning right now, and I hope it continues. But I mean, what about just being empathetic, being understanding, listening to what the other guy has to say? You know what? You might learn something.
One thing I've mentioned on the air a few times is love it when you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube as well. Please do follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're always posting videos there, not just these, but also other things as well. But I've given out my personal Facebook page every once in a while because I love it when someone reaches out and wants to be a friend of mine personally on Facebook as well. I posted this. Not something I came up with, but something I saw and shared on my Facebook page yesterday. We spend too much time arguing like we're right and too little time listening like we're wrong. Diatribes don't change minds. Productive disagreements depend on showing respect, curiosity, and humility. The most compelling teachers are the ones who are most eager to learn.
Yep. And the most important word in all of that is humility, something we are so often devoid of. The loudest people are most often the least humble. And it's tough to learn anything when you're not humble.